Today's lesson is a stay in a guest house. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kiki.
And Kiki is joining us today because we're going to be talking about a stay in a guest house. And, of course, if you're going traveling, you need to make reservations. And, of course, in today's conversation, we've got Lucy calling a guest house to make some arrangements. Now, Kiki, have you ever traveled and stayed in a guest house before?
Yes, I did, actually. One time we went to this very small town in Germany called Nuremberg, and we arrived really late at night. And it was really funny because we were staying at an old guest house. Nobody else was in the house, just an old lady who didn't speak English. And she showed us the room and everything, but I realized she didn't give us the key. And none of us spoke German. But luckily, for some random reason, I knew the word for key in German, which was Schlüssel. And that was the only thing I could say. And I just said, Schlüssel? And then she was like, oh, yeah. And then she handed us the key. So that was a really funny and interesting experience at a guest house for me.
Interesting. Of course, lots of people have different kinds of stories regarding traveling or staying at guest houses, I should say. And today, of course, Lucy's making some arrangements to stay at a guest house in Tasmania, which is an island south of Australia, and it's got a numerous amount of attractions there for people to go check out. So let's get into today's lesson. Let's listen to the first part entitled A Last-Minute Request, and then we'll be right back to discuss it.
A stay in a guest house. 1. A last-minute request. Lucy calls the guest house she'll be staying at in Tasmania. Magnificent morning guest house. This is Simon speaking.
Hi, Simon. This is Lucy Wilson, and I'll be staying there a few days starting tomorrow. I've got a last-minute request that I'm hoping you could accommodate.
I'd be delighted to if I can. How can I help?
My friend Henry just called to say he'll be joining me. Do you happen to have a room available for him?
Yes, we still have a couple of vacancies at present.
Wonderful. Please reserve a room for him then, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, see you then.
大家好，第一部分我们可以看到形容词 magnificent， 它指的是宏伟、壮丽的或是极好的。例如 I saw many magnificent paintings at the museum, but I can't remember the names of the artists. 我在博物馆看到许多出色的画作，但我记不得那些画家的名字。或者 Mary looked magnificent in her new emerald green dress. Mary 穿着翠绿色的新洋装，看起来容光焕发。接下来我们看到动词 accommodate， 意思是满足要求、迎合或是为点点点提供方便，也可以是提供住宿的意思。举例来说 When clients make a request, we do all we can to accommodate them. 当客户提出要求时，我们会尽力满足他们。又或者说 The farmer built an extra paddock to accommodate his herd of sheep. 农场主人多建了一个围场来容纳他的绵羊群。再来我们看到单字 delighted， 它是形容词，指的是乐意的、高兴的或是喜悦的。例如 We are delighted that you can spend the afternoon with us. 我们很高兴你可以跟我们共度下午时光。另外补充这个字的相关形容词 delightful， D-E-L-I-G-H-T-F-U-L delightful， 它的意思是令人开心或是愉快的。例如 We had a delightful lunch in the sunny garden. 我们在阳光明媚的花园里享用了愉快的午餐。再举一个例子 This is a delightful cafe. We should come here more often. 这是一间令人愉快的咖啡简餐店，我们应该更常来这里。接下来我们看到名词 vacancy， 它的意思是空房或是空缺。例如Does this hotel have any vacancies tonight? 这家饭店今晚有任何空房吗？又或者说 The sign outside the motel says there are no vacancies. 汽车旅馆外面的牌子上写着没有空房。
Okay, so today's lesson is all about staying in a guest house. A guest house is not the same thing as a hotel, is it, Kiki?
No, it's not. It's really similar to, I think, everyone has heard of a B&B, a bed and breakfast. And usually guest houses, they're smaller and the people that work there are usually probably friendlier. And sometimes guest houses is when people open up their own homes and let visitors come and stay with them. And they'll provide some really local experiences for the travelers.
Indeed, so they can be kind of intimate and more fun that way. Hotels, they're nice, of course, but you don't really get to interact with the other guests and the owners and things like that. I stayed at guest houses in Thailand and Malaysia, but it's been a long time since I did any traveling. But in any case, the first conversation for today is all about a last-minute request. And if something's last minute, well, it's done at the last minute. It's done very late. And sometimes, you know, what you want may be granted. It may not be granted because you're making this request rather late. You may have been better to have made this request earlier on. Okay, so in this conversation, Lucy calls the guest house she'll be staying at in Tasmania, and Simon answers the phone, and he says, "Magnificent morning guest house. This is Simon speaking." Of course, he'll be speaking in an Australian accent, which I can't really do. I guess you would say, "This is Simon speaking. What can I do for you?"
Well, so magnificent is when something is really very impressive, okay? So sometimes it could be used to describe a landscape that you think is really beautiful, or when you see a mountain that is just so magnificent, it just impresses you so much. But magnificent can also be used to describe somebody who's really magnificent, somebody that's really good at something that they do. For example, often we'll hear magicians called, oh, the magnificent Simon. Okay.
Something like that. Indeed, they would be magnificent or really great, really fantastic. And that's the name of this guest house. And that's a good way to answer the phone. Tell the caller who you are, what the name of your business is, and then say your name. Well, Lucy says, "Hi, Simon. This is Lucy Wilson, and I'll be staying there a few days starting tomorrow. I've got a last-minute request that I'm hoping you could accommodate." So here, of course, she tells Simon why she's calling. "I'm going to be staying there for a few days, and I'll be there tomorrow, and I have a request. It's a last-minute request. Maybe I should have made this request before, but I didn't know this was going to happen, so I'm making this request at the last minute." And she is hoping that Simon can accommodate her request. To accommodate here just means to handle something, to be able to do what the person asked for.
So Simon replies to Lucy that, "I'd be delighted to if I can. How can I help?" So he's heard that Lucy has a last-minute request, but he's not sure if he's able to accommodate or if he's able to fulfill what she needs. But either way, he's still really delighted to. Delighted to is that he's really happy to do something for them, even though he might not know exactly what it is, but he's trying to show that he'll be happy to try to help her.
Indeed. So this is a common expression we use when somebody asks us to do something. I'd be delighted. For example, I could say, "I'd like to introduce to you the new sheriff of Rock Ridge. I'd be delighted. It would be a pleasure to meet this person." So here Simon says, "I'd be delighted to if I can. I will be happy to if I can actually accommodate your request." So he's asking to be more specific here, or asking Lucy to be more specific here. He says, "How can I help? What can I do for you?"
So Lucy says that her friend Henry just called to tell her that he'll be joining. So that's a really last-minute decision for him to tell Lucy, "Hey, I just decided that I'm going to join you on this trip." So Lucy needs to find out from Simon whether or not their guest house has any more rooms available for him to stay.
Exactly. So she says, "Do you happen to have a room available? Do you have a room for my friend here?" And notice here she's added the phrase happen to, which means, is there a chance that you have a room available for him? And Simon says, "Yes, we still have a couple of vacancies at present." Now, you do know the word vacant is an adjective. That means nothing is there. It's an open space. There's a vacant lot over there next next to my house. A house got torn down there, and now there are weeds growing there. It's a vacant lot. But here, vacancy is a noun, and it refers to a space that is available for guests to stay in a hotel or a motel or a guest house or whatever. I don't think you would use this word for restaurant, though. Do you have any vacancies for tomorrow night, or would you?
I don't think you would really use it that often, but I guess when you're really on the spot, you can see maybe the maitre d' or the host saying, oh, we might have some vacant spots, but I don't think you'll really say we have some vacancies, right?
At a restaurant, indeed. But you would say so at a hotel or a motel or a guest house. So here, yes,
right.
Simon says we do have a couple of vacancies at present. At present means right now.
Right. So Lucy, she's really happy to hear that. So she says, wonderful. Please reserve a room for him. Then we'll see you tomorrow. So she heard that at the moment there are vacancies. So she's got to have Simon really just save that room for her and her friend Henry.
Indeed, and Simon says, all right, see you then. So it looks like the arrangement has been taken care of, and Lucy's friend will be able to stay in the guest house with her as well. Okay, that brings us to the midpoint in our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part. We'll listen to it first, and then we will talk about it.
2. Arriving late. Lucy calls Simon again to reschedule her and Henry's airport pickup time.
Magnificent morning guest house. You've reached Simon.
Hi, Simon. It's Lucy Wilson again. I've just found out that our flight will be delayed by about 2 hours, so would it be possible to reschedule the car you were sending to pick us up?
Let me see. You were scheduled to arrive at 2:30, correct?
That's right. We should be arriving around 4:30 if the airline's delay estimate is accurate.
Okay, yes, that should be fine. I'll reschedule the pickup for 4:30 then.
Great. Thanks for being flexible.
第二部分我们看到单字 pick up， 它是名词，意思是接人、提货或是取走物品。举例来说 ，The shuttle bus makes a pickup every hour。接驳巴士每小时接送一次。又或者是 Your meal will be ready for pickup in 15 minutes。你的餐点将在15分钟内可以取餐。最后我们看到形容词 flexible， 它的意思是可变通的、灵活的或是有弹性的。像是 The camera's flexible base makes it easy to position on your desk。那台相机的可调式基座让它方便在桌上摆放。也可以说Rufus has to look after his children, so he needed a job with flexible hours. Rufus 得照顾他的孩子，所以他需要工时弹性的工作。
Okay, part 2 is all about arriving late. You're getting there later than you were supposed to, and that might happen if you're supposed to meet someone at the movie theater for a movie, and for whatever reason you were late, you missed the bus, you couldn't find parking, you forgot your jacket, you had to go back home and get your smartphone, you forgot that. So you might have various reasons for arriving late, and Lucy calls Simon again to reschedule her and Henry's airport pickup time. Sometimes guest house offer this service. If you fly into a certain place, they will come and pick you up as part of their service.
Right, because sometimes guest houses or even hotels, they might be really far away from the city. So like, for example, if you go to Thailand, sometimes you have guest houses or hotels that are really into the mountains. So they'll provide these pickup services. And pickup, not only do you pick people up, you can also pick things up, right? So there's often a word that we use to describe trucks, pickup trucks, because you can use your truck to go and pick up larger items that you might not be able to do when you're driving a smaller car.
Exactly. This reminds me of a time we stayed at a Minsu, or a B&B in Hualien. The lady there was very kind and offered pickup service. She came to the train station and picked us up. So to pick up, that's a verb phrase, but here pick up as one word is a noun. Okay, Simon then answers the phone because Lucy is calling. And again, he says, magnificent morning guest house. You've reached Simon. This is Simon speaking.
Hi, Simon. It's Lucy again. I've just found out that our flight will be delayed by about 2 hours. So Lucy has just informed Simon that their plane is going to be late. So for whatever reason, it could be something that happened at the airport or because of weather issue, their airplane is not going to land at their location at the original scheduled time. So she has informed Simon that they will be delayed. And now she's asking Simon, would it be possible to reschedule the car that you were sending to pick us up?
And Simon says, well, let me see. He's going to look at his information and he says, you were scheduled to arrive at 2:30, correct? That's the information we have here.
Well, Lucy says that's right. We should be arriving around 4:30 if the airline's delay estimate is accurate. So she's guessing that they should arrive 2 hours later, which is 4:30. But she's still not too sure, so she can't really promise Simon. And that's why she says, if the airline's delay estimate, which is what the airline is kind of guessing that they might arrive. So she can't give Simon an accurate, definite answer about when she'll arrive, but she's trying her best to provide some information.
Yes, indeed. Sometimes when you fly, those delays can be uncertain. The airline may tell you that there's a 2-hour delay, but it may take longer than that. It may be shorter than that. It's most often longer, though. And so you never really know when a delayed flight is actually going to arrive at its destination. And so the airline gave her an estimate, which is a guess, an educated guess about the price of something or when something's going to arrive, etc. So if you have some project at home, maybe you need to replace your bathtub or something like that, you might call a plumber and ask them for an estimate. Can you give me a rough estimate or a rough guess as to how much it's going to cost for us to replace our bathtub? And the plumber will tell you, well, it's going to cost you maybe 20,000 NT dollars or something like that.
Right. So then Simon says, yes, that should be fine. I'll reschedule the pickup for 4:30 then. So for Simon, he thinks that it's okay. You know, he won't have too much of a problem with that. And he'll be able to tell the driver or whoever's picking them up at the airport that they need to change the pickup time to 4:30.
Indeed. So that's going to be the arrangement there. And that seems to be no problem for Simon. And Lucy says, great. Thanks for being flexible. Now, if you're flexible, that means you can do lots of different things and you can change according to the circumstances. And oftentimes we use this to talk about your body being flexible. If you're a gymnast, for example, and you work out a lot, you might have a flexible body. But we could also say that you might be flexible with your schedule. Hey, can you come in tomorrow at 2 o'clock? And, well, my schedule's flexible. I could come in at 2 o'clock. I can make some changes to my schedule and accommodate you.
Right. And sometimes being flexible is also just when you're really able to accept a change really easily. So if friends, make plans and then suddenly they decided, oh, I'd rather go to this restaurant instead of the restaurant that we were planning to. And if you're being flexible, you'll be like, hey, I don't mind. I'm cool. Let's try this other restaurant. So being flexible is also just being able to accept people's suggestions really easily as well.
Indeed. And of course, the opposite would be rigid or stubborn. Maybe you know people who just are not flexible at all. Nope, it's got to be this way. We're not going to change the time. I refuse to be flexible. And you might describe that person as being rigid or unreasonable or whatever. So it looks like Lucy's friend is going to be able to make the trip to Tasmania and they will be picked up later on at the airport. It sounds like a great guest house to stay at. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分的对话里面有用到 accommodate 还有 vacancy 这两个单字，我们要分别来补充它们的字首字根。好，首先先看到 mod 或是 mode 这一类字根呢，有度量、衡量或是方式的意思。那么在 accommodate 这个字当中，它的字首 ac 是来自 ad 表示朝向， com 表示彻底或者是做强调用。那么 字根 MOD 有衡量、度量的意思。再来 ATE 是动词字尾。那什么叫做朝向什么去衡量、度量呢？同学们可以试着想，当你对着你的目标对象、目标族群，然后你去彻底衡量出精确的因应方式，也许可以联想到 accommodate， 就有适应啊、顺应、迎合。还有就是说，在旅馆规划住房，他们来迎合顾客需求时，或者在场地在规划容纳人数时，也必须经过精密的衡量。我们用这样的方式去联想到 accommodate， 它有容纳、为点点点来提供空间住宿的意思。那我们也补充2个这一类字根的单字。第一个是 moderate， 它的字根 MODE 表示衡量，那么 ATE 是形容词字尾。当某事物的数量有经过衡量，不会太多也不会太少，那就表示它是适量的哦。用这样的方式应该可以联想到 moderate， 可以描述适度的、适中的、节制的，或者是温和的。在第2个补充的是 modify， 它的字根 MOD 表示度量， IFY 是动词字尾。当我们把某事物把它控制在度量的范围内，适度调整，不要让它超出测量范围。用这样方式，也许可以联想到 modify， 它有调整、修改的意思。好，那接着我们来介绍一下 VAC 或者是 VACU、VAN、VAST 这一类字根表示空的、缺少的、摧毁的。那在 vacancy 这个字当中，它的字根 VAC 表示空， ANCY 是名词字尾，2个部分组合在一起就会得到名词 vacancy， 那就可以表达是空房、空缺。好，我们顺便补充几个这一类字根的单字。第一个是 evacuate， 它的字首 E 表示由内向外，然后 VACU 表示空， ATE 是动词字尾。那我们把某个空间里面的人或东西都把它赶出去，把它净空，应该可以联想到 evacuate， 有疏散或是撤离的意思。第2个补充的是 vanish， 它的字根 VAN 表示无， ISH 是动词字尾，合在一起 vanish 这个动词就表示消失、突然不见或者是绝迹的意思。第3个补充的是 devastate， 它的字首 DE 表示完全，那么字根 VAST 是摧毁， ATE 是动词字尾，合在一起 devastate 它就表示毁灭、摧毁或是破坏的意思咯。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Magnificent. The artist's latest piece is truly magnificent. Accommodate. Although Patrick wanted to accommodate Jack's request, it simply wasn't possible. Delighted. The children were delighted by the clown's silly jokes. Vacancy. The hotel had too many vacancies last year to make a profit. Pickup. June requested a taxi pickup in front of her apartment building. Flexible. Moses is willing to try a different approach, but Edwin refuses to be flexible.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Kiki.
See you next time.